Here on the line with us right now is Stephanie Conway, the president of the Conservative Club here on campus. Stephanie, you know, you actually had a caller tonight who called into the program specifically wanting to talk to you.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, it's actually the same caller that we had last week, and he's been calling over and over again. I would have let him on, except I want to talk to you about something specific that's going on.
I made a friend. Listen, next time, just let him know when I'm on the radio at Eastern. Give him my Twitter and tell him I'd be happy to tell him he's wrong any time of day.
Okay. Okay, by the way, how'd I do on the radio program today?
You did good. You kept it going. I was very pleased with the show.
Okay, good. How did the rest of the show go after I left?
Oh, it went fabulous. Everybody loves to listen to me talk for an hour.
Awesome. I'll have to see if I could find a way to get a copy of that. Anyway, so recently there was a 9/11 conspiracy event thing that happened on campus. Can you kind of tell us what happened and exactly what's going on with that?
I believe from the way the girl described the event at the beginning of it, it was her senior project for her sociology class. And what happened was her and her group came up with this PowerPoint, and it showed a bunch of different YouTube videos and the typical conspiracy rhetoric. The entire premise of the event was, look at this conspiracy, this is what really happened, oh my God, the government's about to get you. And the big closing premise of it was the hidden secret governments of the world are looking to come together and take over via blowing up buildings so that we could have one totalitarian world government.
Oh. And so they tied 9/11 into this?
9/11 was their catalyst of secret government. They think it was the United States government, but also the secret governments and the secret things that are going on in the world were behind 9/11, and that it wasn't actually terror attacks.
Now let me ask you this. Did they draw a pretty big crowd?
It was maybe 20 people.
20 people.
I think it was a requirement for class kind of thing.
A requirement for class to talk about this?
Maybe like an extra credit thing.
Yeah,
Sorry.
let's hope it was extra credit.
I do know it had to do with a class. I think she was getting some kind of grade for this project or something.
Okay, I gotcha. So anyway, how did you respond to this? I mean, you went to it, you sat through it. How did you respond?
I laughed.
You laughed. I would have too.
I went in, and of course I made my impression, because that's what I do. And I went up, I introduced myself to the people running the event, and I stayed behind afterwards for the Q&A open forum. And I had a discussion with the people holding the event. It actually got kind of heated at a couple of points because they were just so... One of them in particular was so off the mark and all over the place. And she presented this entire event. And she presented all the conspiracy stuff and everything else. And she's convinced there's one totalitarian hidden world government thing. But then when I asked her about the planes and the people flying the planes, her response to why they couldn't have really happened was because people can't fly planes from the desert. So we had this organization giving this speech to a bunch of students who didn't know better, who aren't actively involved, and she didn't even have it fully researched herself.
Mm-hmm. Now,
so I kind of got into it.
Now, after you posted something on Facebook about it, correct?
Yes.
And you basically said...
Facebook.
What's that?
I did actually tell you right now.
Okay.
I posted on my Facebook that I was at 9/11 conspiracy group presentation thing, and that they were easily some of the dumbest ideas I had ever heard, and that having any basic understanding of the mechanics of the towers would tell you exactly how they collapsed. That was what I put.
Mm-hmm.
I made no mention to names. I made no mention to the group itself. I didn't even say I was at Eastern.
Mm. And how did they respond to that?
I got a message later on from the girl running the event that was very much, oh, even if you don't agree with our ideas, I'm more than entitled to have them. It's my right to think this way, and I shouldn't be attacked for it. I would really like it if you would take down your Facebook status. Otherwise, I will have to bring this to the school. And I humored her, because I know how I can be sometimes. I'm very critical. Mm-hmm. And I went, and I looked at it, and I was like, she's kidding, right? And I messaged her back. I was like, I had said, nothing about you or the group members, that I called no one out directly, I insulted no one's intelligence, and just as it's your right to believe these conspiracies, it's my right to post that I think they're crazy.
Exactly. It's, I mean, freedom of speech. I believe in it. It's what this program is based on, freedom of speach.
Absolutely. There was no slander.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, you're right. And you said you basically gave your opinion on how the event went, correct? I mean, you didn't, like you said, you didn't specifically attack anyone. You didn't say any names. I don't really see a problem with it.
Nope. And you know what? I asked a couple other people just to get a feel for the situation, because I like to assess what I'm getting myself into. And I asked a couple different people to go look at my Facebook and read the status and tell me what they thought before I even told them what was going on. Because I didn't want to sway them in terms of, oh, we're friends with her, now we need to defend her. I just, tell me, what do you think about this? And they were like, why? What's the problem? What are you getting at? And when I would tell them what was going on, they were like, are you kidding? She's that offended by it? What? And it was just, I can't begin to fathom how someone is so insecure in their beliefs that someone publicly saying they do not agree with them would enrage you that much.
I agree. I mean, that's, I've, as a conservative through high school and into college now, I've gotten, it must have been thousands and thousands of emails from people criticizing my belief. I'm sure you've been criticized many, many times too for your beliefs. And I've never been, I mean, I see it as a challenge, you know what I mean? I say, okay, well, you disagree with me, now let's debate. Here's my ideas, let's hear yours, and we go from there. And this person clearly didn't respond that way, and that's a shame.
It's especially given the public manner in which she chose to express her beliefs. She took an entire room in the main building of the campus in the student center, and she put on a PowerPoint and addressed to students publicly all these things that she believes. And if you're going to take that kind of stance on any issue, you need to be prepared for backlash, especially something that controversial.
Right.
And even what I said wasn't bad. It was the ideas. It wasn't her. And she still responded in that way. And as somebody who does a lot of public speaking, who gets into the issues a lot, who argues with a lot of people, I can't even wrap my mind around how she could respond like that. You're putting yourself in the fire. You need to be ready for it, and you can't freak out about it. Exactly.
Now, she threatened, you mentioned that she threatened to take this to the school if you did not take the Facebook status down. And she threatened to take this to the school, correct? You said that?
Yes, she did. She said, if you don't take this down, I'll have to go to the school about it.
Now, if she did eventually do that, how would you respond?
I would go right ahead and call my news outlets and radio stations, and I'd have you get on the phone with LI.
And contact Greg Gutfeld.
And Greg Gutfeld. It was, honestly, when this whole thing happened, I went home and I told my parents, just to let them know, because I knew they would agree with me and be on my team, but I didn't want them to get surprised by it should it go anyplace. And I was talking to my dad about it, and I looked at him and I laughed, and I said, this would be a career boost for me, if anything.
Yeah.
I was like, come on, honey, let's go.
It would be. You're right. I mean, have you considered, have you considered maybe bring this up a level and drawing some attention to it at all, or no?
Unless she brings it to the school, which I've heard nothing yet. I think it was a great big empty threat. If she brings it to the school and the school tries to take action, I will not hesitate to get up and to do what I need to do, because that's how I am. This is what I've been doing since high school. I'm not the kind of person who backs down. But I'm also not going to fight or start an unnecessary fight. It's my senior year. I'd like to get out of this mess. And really just saying, she said she would tell on me, isn't quite as provocative as, ooh, the school is trying to get me in trouble because I posted my opinion without slander. There's a difference in the way that I could kind of go with this.
Right. Let me ask you a question. Both of us tend to agree on most things. I mean, we're both conservative, but unfortunately, there are many conservatives out there who would not have done what you just said you would do. They would not have fought back against this. They would not have gone to the school and fought back had something happened. Why do you think so many conservatives are kind of back down and are weak when it comes to this?
Because it's not an easy thing to do. To be the kind of person that's going to stand up and put themselves on the line and really embrace the limelight in this argumentative kind of way, you really need to have yourself together. You need to be willing and able and informed even. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of people, that's really scary. If you ask people to give a presentation in the front of the classroom, a lot of times they find a problem with that. So to present someone with an issue this big, or potentially this big, is really terrifying. The thought of taking on a school, the thought of maybe ending up on news networks or AM radio shows talking about what's going on, it takes public speaking to a whole nother level. Mm. And it's not a skill that a lot of people have. Not to mention, a lot of people also don't have the same end goal. You and I are different because we both look to be in some form of public spotlight as far as politics goes. A lot of people would much rather not have anything associated with their name, be kind of back down out of the main light because they don't like that stigma.
Right. We need more conservatives like you who are willing to fight. I want to thank you for calling into the program tonight. It's always great talking to you.
Hey, well, thank you for having me on.
No problem. I'll talk to you later.
Factor Talk Radio.